I'd just like to open by thanking you very much for coming along today to talk to us. So you were a GI bride?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
And I was in the WAFs, in the Women's Air Force. And before I went into the Air Force, or in between the time from the factory to there, which was continuous, I mean, I was posted to different stations. But when we had an air raid and I was at home, my dad, he had a shelter built in the garden, and we couldn't use it because being in the Thames Valley, you know, the water would seep in no matter what we did with the walls, so we never actually went in it. So he got one of those, Wilson, I think it was called Wilson, I don't know. And it was that steel top table, the one like they show on there.
Oh, yes.
And they put it was about, I should think 6, 7 foot long and about 4 wide. And it had that steel top, see, so that if the house bombed, which we had a lot of bombing around there, they used to come with those fire bombs and drop those things out and set the house on fire. And the next morning when you woke up, there was one thing after the other. And we went from one kind of bombing to another kind of bombing where you had the flying bombs and things like that, and it literally picked up one house and landed on top of the other. And so if you got under there, you were protected if the house fell down. We lost the roof of our house a couple of times, and the whole side of the kitchen was, you know, all out in the front yard and things like that, but we had it mended. I wasn't there at the time, just my parents lived at the house because I was in the service station in various places.
Can I just ask, it's always intrigued me, but if your house suffered from, like you lost your roof, did you get any financial help from the authorities to...
I can't remember. I think they did repair the roofs and they tried to build it, but I couldn't tell you what actions. My dad was very efficient in business and everything, and of course he was there and he took care of all that. And like men always used to take care of everything. He was in the First World War, my father, and I was born in the First World War. See, and then I served in the Second, and he was too old to go into in the Second World War, but he was in the Home Guard. He used to go up and guard the police station and all that good stuff.
And this was at Hinchley Wood?
Yes, that's right, at Hinchley Wood. I previously lived in Kingston-on-Thames. I was born at Kingston-on-Thames, and then we moved to Thames Ditton, where I really dearly loved it there. We had a house right down by the river by the island. I don't know whether you know it.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, and we were sitting on the bank in Riversdale Road, and we grew up there, and it was a wonderful place because there were new houses, and all these families that moved in, they all had kids like my parents. I had 2 brothers, and they all had brothers, and so we had a good growing up, good place to grow up.
I'll be very impolite and ask what year you were born.
Yeah, 1917, June the 18th.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
So you were living in Hinchley Wood and you were working in a factory. Was this?
Oh, that was just war. No, I never did anything like that. I hated the factory. I just did it because, first of all, when the war first started, I was in a library. I was working in a library, and I never did. And in the summertime, because I loved the outdoors, and I hated to be inside when the weather was good, so I had a little kennel, and I kept my friends and relatives' dogs and things like that, and did that kind of work because I loved it. I went to Bill Mead College and learned how to do it all. But that was my kind of life. I loved the country. And we had a little travelling trailer, and my father used to take us to all the seaside places. We'd go into Suffolk and put it on the beach almost and everything. So he grew up having a good explorer of England, mostly on the south coast. So I know Devon, Dorset, right down. Cornwall I dearly love. I had two brothers. One was a fighter pilot, and he was on Hurricanes and Spitfires. And he was in it for quite a while, and he got shot down in France when it was occupied and unoccupied France. He was shot down there, but he didn't parachute out because he was too close to the ground, so he landed this plane. Although it was sort of damaged, he managed to get out of it all in one piece except for hurting his leg. And it was where the Germans were sitting in one place, you know, out to come over, and he was in the unoccupied part. And so he went along through these, there was a lot of dikes and things over there in France, and so he saw a wood in the distance, so he climbed up a tree and stayed there all night. They came looking for him, but they didn't find him. And he took what he needed to out of the hurricane, you know, paperwork or anything like that, and and he went all through the country, and the Free French helped him to get along. And he got captured, and he was in prison 3 times. 3 times he got out of prison there by various ruses. He was really smart in that sort of thing, and another 2 joined him, and they all got out, and they went on like that. And the last time he was in prison, he was at Nice and Monte Carlo, up in a big fort. And there was water all around and barbed wire on the water, and they went out to a drainage ditch and all kinds of things, and climbed mountains and did stuff like that. And then finally he got to a place, and they hid him in a house for a week. Although the Germans were actually in this village, they hid him in there, and then they said, you know, make a sound. Nobody knows that an old lady owned this big old tall house, about 3 stories high. And they said, you going out and going down to the beach, and a little boat will come along, a Russian fishing boat with a red sail. And when that comes along, they'll pick you up. So he went down there, and they took him to Gibraltar because he was safe then. The war was still on.
Can you remember what year that was?
Well, it was obviously towards the end of the
So you were...
between the time which the time we Thames would see with the water in it. So he got those. It was that slightly 6 foot long. So he used to and set them on fire. One coming to an almost landed onto each other. The roof of the house comes and up. I can't. Tried to. Everything, and of course he was there and he took care of all that. Always used first world. And he was. He used to call the police and all that stuff. So I was road, and we this new house like my had
Very influenced what you see, eventually were working.
the back. I was in a laboratory working. Summertime. Had a little relative. We call it. Trade. We used to places we'd go. Put it each almost having a one will I really love. I had occupied it down there, but he